Business Focus with Kudzie, Sharara on the
Focus segment right here, and we have Kudzie, Sharara, our business expert, on the line. And as in the norm now, Business Focus is in three segments. We start with any economic news or events that Kudzie thinks have a large bearing on our economy. And the second segment is about investments, in particular the stock market. Then lastly, we have the personal finance or financial literacy, including financial term of the day. And morning, Kudzie, and thank you so much for joining us on Business Focus.
Good morning, Goni, and thank you for having me.
All right, Kudzie, let's start, with what I hear from the RBZ. Yeah, there's something happening at the RBZ. What's the latest?
Thank you, Goni. So, yes, the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe yesterday finally released the details of the targeted finance facility. Remember, sometime last year, towards the end of the year, they announced that they were going to introduce this targeted finance facility. But at that time, we didn't get any details in terms of what it was and how it was going to be, the modalities of its implementation. But finally, they've come out with further details in terms of modalities. So this is a facility will be availed through normal banking channels. So if you want to access the funds that the RBZ is going to avail, you have to go through your normal banking channel. However, the Reserve Bank will lend the money to banks, and the banks will then lend to their customers. This money is meant to be for working capital purposes or for working capital requirements. And this facility, again, banks are required to, it has a tenure of 270 days. So if you borrow this money from your bank, you are expected to pay the interest and then obviously pay back the money in 270 days. So it's a short-term loan, and obviously because it's for working capital, this loan will attract an interest. So the Reserve Bank will be giving banks this facility at a 20% per annum interest rate. And then banks are allowed to on-lend this money at a maximum of 30%. This is slightly below the normal interest rate, which the bank policy rate, which is at 35%. This facility, however, is at 30% per annum, and also so that's the tenure, and as a security, banks will have to lodge security or collateral to the central bank, and so to access this facility, banks will either give the RBZ foreign currency or gold-backed digital tokens or foreign currency denominated treasury bills or local currency treasury bills with less than 1 year maturity. So this is what the Reserve Bank will accept as collateral if any bank is going to go to the Reserve Bank to get a loan out of this. So I engaged the Reserve Bank Governor, Dr. Sharara, just to understand why the bank decided to introduce this facility instead of, there is a reserve ratio is very high. Instead of just reducing the reserve ratio and allowing banks to lend, why introduce this facility? So that was the question I asked the Central Bank Governor. And he said reducing statutory reserve won't necessarily increase the banks to lend. He says the money is likely to end up in the parallel market if we do it that way. And then he says that there is actually excess liquidity in the market and not shortage. So he's saying it's not like there's a shortage of ZIG in the market. There's actually excess liquidity. He says that over the banks have been sitting on over 1 billion since September, and the Reserve Bank have had to sterilize this money through the NNC, non-negotiable CDs. So it means that there are banks that have got ZIG that they are not lending. And then there are banks that do not have ZIG, that have loaned out their maximum, but they still have customers with appetite for ZIG. And I know for sure quite a number of companies that I know for a fact that were looking for ZIG loans, but they were not able to get ZIG loans from their banks because their banks didn't have. So it was a situation where banks are not lending to other banks, interbank. There's what is known as interbank, where banks lend to each other. But it seems like local banks that have got ZIG are not willing to lend to other banks, to other local banks, for whatever reason. I don't know why they are not lending to each other. Maybe they believe that the administration associated with doing that is not worthwhile, given the volatility of the ZIG, the inflation, as well as currency depreciation. But I'm just trying to see why banks would sit on money that would then be taken away by the Reserve Bank at zero interest, instead of lending that money to a fellow bank at an interest rate. But this is just the governor saying so. He might be saying the truth or not. I can't parrot for him, but this was his explanation, to say there's enough liquidity in the market. It's just that it's sitting with banks that do not want to lend to other banks. So that's the reason why this facility has been introduced. Hopefully, it will go a long way in easing the plight of those entities and companies that were looking for big loans for working capital. I know there is a liquidity squeeze in terms of some firms failing to access their any big loans to use for their working capital.
All right, Kudzie, thank you so much for that. Your questions are also welcome on 0719 100 404. We will, of course, pick them up and, of course, ask Kudzie as we go about with the program. But, of course, Kudzie, for me as an individual, do I also stand to benefit from this development from the RBZ?
No, this is remember, it's a targeted facility for the productive sector, for working capital. So it's not for individuals, it's for working capital. However, what has then happened is that if your bank can access this facility, it means deposits from elsewhere, deposit Kudzie, deposit whoever, and this is for kupaiwe loan, because reduce for pressure, because my companies are now my loans are booked from this facility, which are even cheaper, which means that the other deposits that the bank might get would then be channeled towards individuals. So they've reduced this pressure. For example, if banks are going to go for that 1 billion that is the Reserve Bank that is taken from other banks, if that money is available, it means there is less pressure on other sources of money that the bank might get.
All right. Thank you so much, Kudzie. We're also picking up questions as well on our WhatsApp number. Somebody is asking about Kaya Cement and Better Bricks being under corporate rescue, and they are asking your thoughts on that as well.
Yeah, I think for the companies both came out in the press explaining why they are going under corporate rescue. Obviously, normally what happens is that these companies would have failed to meet their credit obligations, maybe failing to pay debts, maybe failing to pay their suppliers. And in most cases, suppliers will now be making final demands and saying, if you don't pay me my money, I'm going to go to the court. And obviously the court will say, okay, authorize the sale of some assets. So, or the company will be allowed to attach some of your assets. So if you go under corporate rescue, it means that you are immune sort of from such creditors. So that's the story. And I think it's also linked to what we are talking about in terms of limited access to working capital. So a company might be struggling to get enough working capital to get by and to pay its suppliers, to pay its workers. And now that there is this facility, maybe it might go a long way in averting such situations. Although for some companies like Kaya, for example, it goes beyond just lack of access to credit or facilities, but it also has to do with some of their machines not not in good standard or not functioning as expected.
All right. Thank you so much, Kudzie. Somebody is also asking, is the RBZ still giving digital gold through our banks?
No, digital gold coins, I'm not sure. The last time I checked, they were no longer using the physical gold coins. I'm not sure if they are still selling the gold-backed digital tokens. It's something that I might have to find out.
All right. Thank you so much, Kudzie, for that as well. Let's quickly look at how the markets are looking, the ZSC and other markets.
Yeah, so the ZSC continues to come off, although the Victoria Falls Stock Exchange recovered. So the All-Share Index, the ZSC All-Share Index down by 0.86%. Top 10 Index also coming off by 0.82%. This was on the back of losses in Nampec, down by 12.28%. Pro Plastics down by 11.39%. TSR losing 9.07%. EcoCash and Citco also coming off. OK Zimbabwe, for a change, was not in the top 5 losers, although the company has since issued a statement in the papers that are in the papers this morning, and they are saying that we assure all our stakeholders, including customers, shareholders, employees, and partners, that our stores are open for trading. Although the company faced the intermittent product supply challenges during the festive period, we continue to serve our loyal customers and continue to contribute to the growth and development of Zimbabwe. So this is okay, saying that everything is okay at their stores, but obviously it's not something that you can say through a statement. It's something that you can say through making sure that your shelves are well stocked, your stores are well stocked. So the jury is still out there in terms of whether things are okay at OK Zimbabwe. I'm sure their customers will be the judge of that, because this morning they'll be walking into those stores and they would want to see whatever they are looking for, the goods that they are looking for in the shops. So it's not something that you can say through a statement and everything will be okay.
Interesting. And finally, Sazi, when we're looking at the personal finance segment, like I said, I'm a business tutor this year, so I really want to make sure that I understand that bit.
Thank you. So yesterday, interestingly, my son came to me and said, Daddy, have you ever taken a loan? And I was like, yeah, I've taken a bank loan. So I took that as an opportunity to just also explain to him what a loan is all about. And so today, maybe we instead of saying a loan, we can say debt. What debt is all about. So debt is money that you owe to someone or to a bank. This could be through a loan or a credit card balance. Maybe some in other countries, they actually get student loans, or even money owed to your friend. If you owe me money, that's a debt. So there are two types of debt. There is what we call good debt, and then there is bad debt. So let's start with good debt. It's a good debt. So a good debt is typically associated with investments that will appreciate in value or generate income in the future. So for example, if I'm going to take a loan to invest in an investment property, an investment property is a property that I put up, for example, if it is a house, but I want to use that house for income purposes. I will put some tenants there and get some rental income. So it's a good debt if it's for investment purposes. Think of like I give an example of if you also take maybe a loan for education, which can lead to potential higher earning potential. You go and get a loan, go and learn a skill at a college, and then you use that skill to get more income. Then that will be a good debt. So this type of debt will still be a financial obligation, but it can be a tool for building wealth. So that's a good debt. Bad debt, on the other hand, is usually associated with a depreciating asset or things you consume. So if you go and get a debt to buy a vehicle which is not used to any money, but just for you to travel from place A to B, that one is a bad debt because it is a depreciating asset. We don't put any motor car dealership. We don't put you have to lose a value. So it's a depreciating asset unless you are using it for business purposes where it's going to earn you some money, like a combi, for example, or like a truck. Then if it's like that, it's a good debt. But if for you to just travel, it's a bad debt. And then in other countries, they talk of credit card debt, which is used for impulse purchases. So that again is a bad debt. If you get a loan so that you can go and on a holiday, that's consumption. It's a bad debt. If you get money, you borrow money from me so that you can go and buy pizza for your girlfriend, that's a bad debt as well. So these types of debts can quickly spiral out of control due to high interest rates and can hinder your financial progress. So how do you manage debt effectively? First, understand the terms of your debt. What's the interest rate? Is it not high? Is it cheaper? So you need a debt that does not have high interest rates. That's number one. Two, what are the monthly payments? You don't want a debt that will wipe out your salary. Unonotora chikwereti chaunozwa kuti kana wakundidzosera mari yangu inini iwe uri kusara usina kana sendi handisi ndopozodza mari yakatambira this month yese yakaperera kuzvikwereti. No, that's a bad debt. You don't want a debt that takes up all of your salary. So again, that's something to look out for in terms of how much is needed, and then how long is the repayment period. Zvichatora nguva yakadii uchibhadhara chikwereti ichochi. Again, it's something that you need to keep into consideration. It's crucial information so that you can create a plan in terms of managing that debt. So, and then there are ways to, if you are, for example, how do you manage a debt effectively? Like I said, you have to look at your interest rate, your monthly payment, and the payment period. Second, you also need, when you're paying off your debt, let's say une zvikwereti zvakawanda, changu inini chine interest ye 20%, changoni chine interest ye 10%. You need to pay off that debt with a higher interest rate. That's the one that you must pay off first. If you have got multiple debts, this can save you a significant amount of money in the long run. And then lastly, explore debt management options. This could include debt consolidation, where you get a new loan. So you owe me $20, you owe only $10. You go and borrow maybe $30 from Nyari at a cheaper interest rate, and then you pay me and Ngoni off, and then you start paying Nyari, but you're now paying at a cheaper interest rate. That's where you would have consolidated your debt, where you combine your multiple debts into a single loan with a lower interest rate, or working with a credit counseling agent to create a debt management plan. So that's finally, and perhaps most importantly, Sazi, avoid accumulating unnecessary debt. Before making any purchase, ask yourself, or before taking any debt, ask yourself if it's a need or a want. Consider the long-term cost of borrowing and explore alternatives like saving up for the item in debt. Kokungoseva mari yacho uzotenga moto yacho than kutora chikwereti kuti utenge mota. So that's what I could say today as financial literacy in terms of debt management.
All right, Kudzie, thank you so much for that. We really do appreciate. And of course, if you also have your questions for Kudzie Sharara, you can come through on our studio WhatsApp line 0719 100 404. Somebody is coming through on our WhatsApp number and asking about Zimbabwe's debt domestically and internationally.
Yeah, in total, I think our debt is almost like $21 billion. And about 13 billion is external debt, and the balance is local debt. And this also includes the $3.5 billion that is owed to those former farmers, those white farmers whose land was redistributed. They are still owed for the improvements that they made on the farm, and that's about 3.5 billion. There are also other debts that were accumulated by the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe, which have now been assumed by the state. And obviously, if the state assumes this debt, it means the taxpayer is the one who is going to pay that debt. So that's the national debt at the moment, and it's actually affecting our budget. Remember, when you do your national budget, for example, we've got the 2025 national budget, a huge chunk of that budget is going towards debt repayment. So again, as a country, we also need to come up with a debt resolution plan. You know, those negotiations that are taking place, that are led by former Mozambican President Joaquim Chissano, to try and make sure that we restructure our debt so that we reduce the interest rate that we pay, so that we can access more debt, but at a cheaper interest rate than we are currently getting debt at.
All right, Kudzie, thank you so much for Business Focus. Let's do this again on Monday.
Thank you, Ngoni, and have a great weekend.
Business Focus with Kudzie Sharara on the Champions League Breakfast.